Emily had been having an affair with another man for the past 6 months. She admitted something even more devastating. She was pregnant with his child. I couldn't even process her words. She had gotten pregnant by him, not by me. She said I wasn't satisfying her in bed. I always believed that the key to a successful marriage was mutual respect, communication, and a foundation of trust. My name is Mark, and that's how I built my life. By staying true to my values, I achieved success in both my personal and professional life. Or so I thought. I had always been driven, a successful entrepreneur with a company that was growing fast in the tech industry. My work was my passion. When I met Emily, I was drawn to her beauty, charm, and intelligence. We connected instantly, and after only a year of dating, I proposed. I thought I had found the perfect woman, the one who would be my partner for life. Emily, on the other hand, seemed to share my enthusiasm. She was stunning, soft-spoken, and caring. She was the woman I could see by my side as I worked to build my future. I never imagined that the woman I loved, the one I trusted, would betray me in the most painful way possible. The start of the cracks. We had been married for 3 years when I began to sense that something was wrong. At first, I didn't want to believe it. I was busy with work, launching new products, making deals, keeping the company running. Emily had been a stay-at-home wife since we got married. She wanted to manage the house, cook, and take care of things while I focused on my career. I'd always supported her choice. It felt like the right balance. But gradually, I noticed little things. She started being more distant. Our conversations became shallow, brief, and far less meaningful. The physical affection we once shared, even in small gestures, had faded. I told myself I was overthinking it. Maybe it was stress. Maybe the demands of my business were taking a toll. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. It was one late evening when I came home to find her in the living room, her phone face down on the couch. I had gotten used to her being on her phone while watching TV, but that evening, there was something about her behavior that felt off. I decided not to press it, but curiosity got the best of me. As I went to the kitchen to grab a drink, I noticed that her phone buzzed on the couch. Without thinking, I glanced at the screen. The message preview popped up, and I saw the name of a man I didn't recognize. Something inside me snapped. I immediately felt a knot form in my stomach. I wasn't sure what I was about to uncover, but I knew it was something that would change everything. I told myself to wait, to calm down, but I couldn't. I picked up the phone and unlocked it with the fingerprint that she never thought to change. The messages on the screen were intimate, far more intimate than anything I had ever seen between us. The conversation between Emily and this man was flirtatious, full of promises and references to secret meetings. My blood ran cold. I confronted her that night. Her reaction was one of shock, then denial. She insisted that I was overreacting. But when I pressed her harder, the truth came out in a flood of words that shattered me completely. Emily had been having an affair with another man for the past 6 months. She had been seeing him behind my back, lying to me every day, hiding the truth in plain sight. As if the betrayal wasn't enough, she admitted something even more devastating. She was pregnant with his child. I couldn't even process her words. She had gotten pregnant by him, not by me. My mind went blank. But then came the part that cut deeper than any words could express, Emily's reasoning. She said I wasn't satisfying her in bed. She said she didn't feel loved or desired by me. And when she compared me to him, the way he touched her, the way he made her feel, it was clear that I had failed her in every way that mattered. She told me she didn't want the child I had wanted so badly, and that was why she had sought someone else. I was left standing there, utterly crushed, as she continued to blame me for her betrayal. I want a divorce, she said coldly. And I want alimony. I don't want to work. I've been a homemaker for years. You owe me this, after all I've done for you." I was speechless, my chest tightening with a mixture of disbelief, anger, and heartache. How could she demand alimony after everything? She had lived off my success while secretly tearing apart everything we had built together. The struggle. As the reality of the situation set in, I found myself trapped. My heart ached for the future that I thought we had ahead of us, but my mind raced with the financial implications of a divorce. Emily knew that marriage infidelity wasn't a consideration in the alimony laws of our state. She had calculated her move carefully, knowing she could take advantage of the system. If I wasn't careful, she would drain me, taking a significant portion of the money I had worked so hard to earn. I knew I couldn't let that happen. I immediately hired a lawyer, someone I trusted to help me navigate the difficult path ahead. Emily and I began the process of separating our lives, but the tension was unbearable. The more I learned about her actions, the more furious I became. I had built this business from the ground up, and I wasn't about to let her take it all because of her selfishness. My lawyer and I devised a strategy. I couldn't be open about all my assets, as I feared that Emily would have access to them if I wasn't careful. I had several hidden properties, real estate investments that she had no knowledge of. These assets were out of her reach, and they would be crucial in ensuring that I wouldn't have to pay her the exorbitant alimony she demanded. The thought of her draining my bank account, all while she was pregnant with someone else's child, was infuriating. After several tense months of back and forth, the divorce papers were signed. In the end, I was able to negotiate a significantly lower monthly alimony payment, $3,000 a month, much less than she had hoped for. She was furious, but I didn't care. I was done with her. The money was a small price to pay to rid myself of her presence in my life. The exposure. As difficult as the divorce had been, I knew I couldn't just let Emily walk away without facing some kind of consequence. I had spent years building my reputation in the community, and the thought of her walking away unscathed, continuing to deceive people, was something I couldn't stomach. Emily was a member of our local church, a place where her family held a position of power. Her parents were managing members, and the congregation respected them. That was a powerful influence, and I knew that if I exposed her actions, it would be devastating for her. I gathered all the evidence I could, photos of her with her lover, text messages, emails. I even managed to track down a few people who had witnessed her interactions with him. It wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice, about making sure she couldn't manipulate or control anyone else the way she had controlled me. I reached out to the church leadership. I met with them in private, sharing the full extent of Emily's betrayal. I had no doubt that the truth would come as a shock to the congregation, especially to her parents. But I didn't care anymore. I needed the truth to come out. The church's response was swift. Emily and her parents were expelled from the community. The same people who had once adored her turned their back. It was a public shaming, and though I wasn't proud of it, I couldn't deny that a small part of me felt vindicated. She had destroyed my life, and now she was facing the consequences of her own actions. But the fallout didn't end there. Her baby's father, the man she had cheated on me with, left her. He couldn't handle the pressure of the situation, the judgment from the community. He walked away, leaving Emily alone with nothing but the mess she had created. The aftermath. I didn't feel triumphant as I watched her unravel. She had been my wife for years, and despite everything she had done, I still felt a pang of sympathy. I had loved her once, and seeing her devastated, mentally and financially, wasn't easy. But I couldn't let her back into my life. The damage was irreversible. She apologized to me countless times, begging for forgiveness, but I remained silent. There was nothing left to say. I focused on rebuilding. My business had taken a hit during the divorce, but I knew it was only temporary. I was determined to rebuild everything I had lost, and in time, I did. The satisfaction of seeing my company thrive again gave me the strength to move forward. It was about a year after the divorce was finalized. Emily was no longer a part of my life, and though I had experienced a period of intense heartache, the weight of it had slowly started to lift. I had thrown myself into my work, rebuilding my company, managing finances, and finding a sense of purpose again. But there was still an emptiness inside me. I had learned the hard way what betrayal felt like, and the thought of opening my heart to someone new seemed impossible. But life has a way of surprising you when you least expect it. I was at a business networking event in a downtown cafe. It wasn't exactly the type of gathering I would have chosen in the past. I typically preferred one-on-one meetings. But I had promised a friend who was organizing the event that I would attend. I knew there would be potential clients and investors, so I begrudgingly showed up. The atmosphere was warm and casual. People were chatting about new projects, market trends, and startup. As I stood by the coffee table, nursing a cup of tea, I noticed her across the room. Sarah. She was talking to a group of people, but what struck me immediately was how different she was from everyone else. While the other attendees seemed wrapped up in business jargon, Sarah was genuinely engaged, listening intently and laughing with the others. Her warmth was magnetic. There was something about her that felt so refreshing, so real. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She was just being herself, and it was a stark contrast to the polished, often superficial conversations I'd gotten used to in the business world. I couldn't help but watch her from a distance. I was drawn to her energy, her authenticity. It reminded me of how I used to feel when I was in a healthier place, before everything with Emily had broken me. Before I had learned the cruel lesson that not everyone is who they seem to be. Eventually, our paths crossed by the snack table, and we exchanged a few pleasantries. It was casual, but there was something magnetic in the way she looked at me, as though she genuinely saw me. She asked me about my company, and I explained what I was working on. Unlike so many others I'd met in the past, she didn't ask in the way people do when they're trying to figure out how they can benefit from me. She was simply curious. It was a rarity that I didn't realize I'd missed so much. We chatted for a little while longer, and as the event began to wind down, she handed me her card and told me to reach out if I ever wanted to grab coffee. I didn't expect much. It seemed like the kind of polite gesture people made at events, but something about it felt different this time. I didn't just give her my usual polite nod, I actually felt a spark of interest. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about her. I wondered if it was too soon to open up again, too soon to let someone new into my life. But I also knew that I couldn't keep hiding forever. It wasn't fair to myself, and it wasn't fair to anyone who might come into my life. Getting to know Sarah. A few days later, I texted her. It was simple. A message thanking her for the conversation and asking if she'd like to grab that coffee. She replied almost immediately, and we set a time to meet at a small, cozy cafe downtown. Our first coffee date was different. It wasn't like the awkward small talk that I expected. Sarah was easy to talk to. She wasn't judgmental, and she didn't push me to share more than I was ready to. It felt natural. She told me about her life, her career, and her passions. Sarah was an architect, working for a firm that specialized in sustainable design. She loved her job, and it was clear she was passionate about it. What impressed me most was her dedication to not just her work, but also her personal values. She was involved in community projects, helping to design affordable housing for low-income families. She had a quiet humility about her that I found refreshing. Sarah wasn't trying to impress anyone with her career or her achievements. She was more interested in making a difference, in finding meaning in the work she did. As we continued to meet over the next few weeks, I began to feel a shift. I had gone through so much emotional turmoil, and I didn't know if I could ever trust anyone again. But with Sarah, I felt a kind of peace. We shared common values, integrity, loyalty, and the belief that hard work could lead to positive change. She never once judged me for my past, and that was something I hadn't realized how much I needed. There were no games with Sarah. She wasn't trying to get anything from me, she was genuinely interested in getting to know me, just as I was in her. And for the first time in a long time, I felt seen. I felt respected. She didn't make me feel like I had to prove myself. One of the things that stood out to me most about Sarah was how comfortable I felt around her. I didn't feel like I had to be perfect or guarded. She never pushed me to open up about my past until I was ready. She gave me the space to heal at my own pace. Eventually, I did open up. I told her about Emily, about the betrayal, the divorce, and how difficult it had been for me to move on. Sarah listened intently, her eyes full of empathy. She didn't say much, but her presence was a comfort. And when I was done, she simply said, "You're not defined by what happened to you, Mark. You're defined by how you move forward." Her words stuck with me. For the first time in a long time, I realized that my past didn't have to dictate my future. I could move on. I could rebuild. And it wasn't just about finding someone new, it was about finding someone who understood me, who valued me for who I was now, not who I was when I was with Emily. Life with Sarah, a fresh start. As time passed, my connection with Sarah grew deeper. We began to spend more time together, not just on dates, but in the quiet moments of everyday life. We would go for walks in the park, enjoy dinner at small local restaurants, and simply talk about our hopes, dreams, and experiences. There was an ease in our relationship that felt so different from what I had known before. With Emily, things had always felt like a struggle, like we were forcing something to work. But with Sarah, it was effortless. It was clear that we both had a shared vision for the future, one that was rooted in mutual respect, trust, and a desire to build something lasting. Sarah was supportive of my business, but she never pressured me. She was happy for me when I had success, and she offered a steady hand when things were difficult. She had a quiet strength about her that I found grounding. She was always there when I needed her, whether it was to celebrate small victories or simply to listen when I was feeling stressed. We started traveling together, exploring new places both near and far. Our adventures brought us closer, and I found myself opening up to her more and more. With each passing day, I realized that I wasn't just healing, I was growing, and Sarah was part of that growth. She made me feel like I had something to offer again, something I hadn't felt in years. One weekend, we took a trip to a small coastal town for a long weekend getaway. It was a spontaneous decision, but one of the best we had made. We stayed in a cozy cottage overlooking the ocean, and spent our days walking along the beach, watching the sunset, and talking about everything and nothing at all. That weekend, as we sat on the porch with a glass of wine, Sarah turned to me and said, "Mark, I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to be you." Those words stuck with me. She wasn't looking for someone to fix her life, and she didn't need me to fix mine. We were both content being ourselves, learning from each other, and creating a life that felt genuine. Eventually, I realized I was falling in love with Sarah. It wasn't the intense, rushed feelings I had felt with Emily, it was something steadier, more grounded, more real. I admired Sarah deeply, not just for her career and her kindness, but for the way she carried herself with such confidence and grace. She had her own passions, her own dreams, and yet she made room for me in her life without ever overshadowing me. One night, after a quiet dinner at home, I took a deep breath and looked into her eyes. "Sarah," I began, "I know we've only been together for a short time, but I feel like I've known you forever. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Will you marry me?" Tears filled her eyes and she smiled, nodding. "Yes, Mark. Yes." It felt right. It felt like the beginning of a new chapter, one that was built on trust, love, and the hope of a future that we would create together. Looking forward, our lives together have been everything I never thought I needed. Sarah and I continue to grow together, building a future based on understanding and respect. We've been through the ups and downs, supporting each other through everything life throws our way. The joy of finding someone who genuinely understands me, who sees me for who I am, has been nothing short of transformative. In many ways, meeting Sarah was the final piece of healing for me. She has shown me that love can be patient, kind, and selfless. And in return, I am more present, more grounded, and more capable of loving than I ever thought possible. Our future is bright, and I'm looking forward to every day we have together. As for Emily, she remains in the same place she put me, alone, facing the consequences of her choices. I don't wish her ill, but I've moved on. I have everything I need now: peace, love, and a future full of promise.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and share it with your friends. And if you'd love to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you never miss a new upload. See you in the next video.